Hi everyone. So in this video, we'll be discussing about MongoDB. So first things first, how do you set up your MongoDB? So first of all, what you need to do is you need to go to your terminal and install a couple of packages, including MongoDB. So this is one of the commands as you can see over here. Uh, Now what I want is I'm going to install Express and I'm going to install MongoDB and body parser because these are the packages which I require right now. And so for this, what I'll be doing is I'll be using the same command, that is npm install. So once you can directly install all these packages directly. So once I'm done with this, I can even have a look whether this has been installed or not. So if you go in your package.json, you can have a look over here that there are all these packages which have been installed: body parser, express, MongoDB, and this is what I was looking for. So what we are going to do right now in this particular session, we are going to create a database, and we're sort of going to connect our backend to the database. So for instance, this is my backend, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to connect this to my database, that is my community. The software which I'm going to use is MongoDB Compass Community. So what you need to do is just go to the website of MongoDB and install the version. I guess this is free of cost, so shouldn't be a problem. So right now what you can see is this is something which sort of comes when you connect to your local machine or local MongoDB. So before that, I'll just show you what you need to do. Once you sort of download this, you'll get an option to connect to. So I'm just waiting for this to initialize. So once till the time this is getting set up, what we'll do is we'll start writing a couple of basic code for our connection. So yeah, and you can see over here I've written a couple of basic commands, basic comments, which are going to give you a bit of idea about how you're supposed to do the coding for this particular task. So what we need to do, as we already installed the packages, so you can see that first of all, what we have to do is you'll have to use again something, you'll have to do something similar to what we have been doing for Express and other packages. But for this one, you don't require any of the packages except for MongoDB. I've just installed body parser and Express because I might require them later on. But for now, what I'm going to do, I'm just setting up a connection. I'm setting up a client and server architect. Client is going to communicate to the server, and I'm just setting a basic connection between my my backend and the database, right? So let's begin coding. So again, reference to MongoDB, it's pretty straightforward as we do for other packages. So you say let MongoDB equal to require MongoDB, right? So this is your first thing. Once you've created the reference, now what you need to do is you need to create an instance of MongoDB client. So for that, again, you'll be using same MongoDB client instead of MongoDB. And so client is this backend server, right? And it's gonna be MongoDB.MongoDB client, and then that's it. So once you've created an instance, that is your MongoDB client, now what you're going to do is you need to connect the server, right? And again, one more important thing. So you're using this, data type, let data type. So let is basically, it sort of does not protect your variables. You can sort of make changes to your variables, but now because I want my connection shouldn't be, changed again and again. So I'm going to use const data type. So for this, what I'm going to do, there's a step which you need to follow. So whenever you're trying to connect to database, you need to use a variable that is database db underscore URL. And over here, you'll be giving your path name, that is Mongo, or you can say that your machine IP. So we can just say localhost, because I'm just setting up the server in my own machine right now, right? And look, after localhost, what you'll do, you will give the port number 27017. So and another important thing you need to understand over here is that localhost is again your own machine. So you can also, instead of writing just localhost, you can use the IP of your localhost machine, local machine, that is 270.0.1, and 270.107.27.017 is your uh, port number for your MongoDB. And again, generally this is not required. You should be changing this so that hackers cannot, sort of hack your machine. They might continuously ping to this particular IP or port. This port, basically, they'll try to, check whether your port is open using nmap, and then they may, try to exploit your application, or they might do anything. They might, any sort of injection to, retrieve your database or corrupt your database. So we need to be very mindful of this. So these are the basic steps which we need to understand. And once we are done with this, we'll start sort of, connect the server. This is just understanding, how you are supposed to import and write your variables. Another important thing we need to understand that in real life, as you can see, I mentioned a comment over here, that in real life, your database server and backend server are never hosted together, because there are a lot of computations happening, and we don't want, if one server gets down, even the database, like we don't want both the servers getting down, or, sort of not able to handle so much computation at one time. So that's not going to be possible, because of which we have different servers. Now, going back to our already, I sort of showed you this. So when you click on the new connection, so you get a couple of these on your left-hand side. So these are your connections, which are already existing. So I'm going to click on the top one. And once you click on this one and do connect, now you can see that I've been connected to the local database. So these are already existing few tables, which you can see, that few database names, except for library database. I might have created it long time back, and CarsDB. So admin, config, and local, these are your already existing data tables or databases when you sort of set up your machine, or when you install, when you basically install this application, right? So now let's get into connecting and writing couple of, creating few tables, or not tables. So first, before getting into that tables thing, I want to share some important thing. So as we know that, when we are talking about, as we know, MongoDB is NoSQL database. So for this, and to understand NoSQL database, you need to know what are the SQL databases, right? So MySQL is something which is your relational database, right? So what happens in relational database? You know that there are rows and columns, right? So when you have rows and columns, what happens in your relational database? They sort of they have a relation between them. There's a relation between your different rows and columns. That is the reason they are called relational database. So when it comes to MongoDB, these are not called your relational database. They are called NoSQL database, because there's no relation between your rows and columns. In fact, what happens in your NoSQL database, each row is a JSON object, and we'll be seeing that when we create an object, when we create a database, or when we create when we create a database, and we'll have a look basically, how those values are getting stored in this particular compass. So what happens? All the rows or tuples are stored as a JSON object. And it doesn't mean that, MongoDB does not have schema. It does have, and you'll be having a look at it later on. And now let's go back to the coding, because we have seen how the database, we have seen visually what databases are already installed, and we'll be creating a database right now. So heading back to the Visual Studio. Okay, so now you can see over here, I've just wrote a bit of code after connecting to the server. Now what you need to do is, here I've created a variable DB, and I'm connecting to the server now. So for that, what I've done, I've used a function, basically .connect. So what I'm doing over here, in that you're using your DB URL, which is going to give the location, how do you want to connect to the, what is the IP basically. So this is our local machine. So we have given that IP, and as you know, the port number is 27017. And again, these are mandatory uh, variables, or this whole object. Yeah. And after that, I have a callback function. And again, this is a very straightforward callback function. This what happens. We're just telling that, if any error occurs, there's going to be a message on the screen that is the error in MongoDB connection. But so what I'm doing right now, after that, if there's not, then what you need to do is you need to create a database which is called units. So now what I'll do, I'll run this command. I'll run my code and see whether I have a new database units in my compass. So for that, I'll go to node, and that's something which I did previously. So now when I do node.aps, so you can see that I'm getting an error. So let's fix this error. It says that MongoDB, Mongo client cannot properly connect to undefined. Okay, there's some issue over here. Let's have a resolve this. I'll just resolve this issue. Give me a second. Okay, so I just sort of realized that the issue over here was, so when I connect this, you can see that when I go to my instance which I created over here, so you need to be very mindful of a couple of things. So first of all, this should be capital N. So this is very case sensitive, and there shouldn't be any DB. It should just be Mongo client. So now if you try running your code, this code now, you can see that my connection has been established. So now if I go to my database and check, because I've created a database that's called units, and if I refresh it, I'm not able to get anything over here. So why is that happening? So the reason is, whenever you are creating a database, you need to add something. You need to have a collection. So what a collection is, we need to understand that. So if you talk it again in terms of your database, or you can say that, or I'll put it this way: whenever you are trying to, create a table. So in your MongoDB, a table is referred to a collection. So what I'm doing right now, I'm trying to create a collection. So unless and until you do not create a collection or table in terms of your SQL, so you won't be able to see your database in your compass. So because I haven't created any table, that is the reason units database wasn't reflecting. Now what I'm doing, I've created a table now, or I'm trying to give an analogy for this. So in terms of NoSql, it should be called collection. So now if I rerun this, and let's rerun this application, now it says connection successful. And now if I go back to my MongoDB compass and reload this, refresh it, now you can see that because I have created a table or a collection inside my database, that is the reason my database is reflecting. So now I already have the table, and this is the way you sort of create a database, or you sort of set a connection between your backend and the database. And again, this is nothing what I've done. I mean, how do you sort of create a collection? You use db.collection and name of your collection, whatever name you want to get, and dot insert one. This is a function which helps you insert one value, and these are your key value pairs, right? So this is the way you sort of insert your values to a collection. So that's it for your MongoDB. We'll be doing a couple of more things, but for now, I guess this should be fine. And if you have any questions, just let me know. Thank you.